So let me start with the, okay. Yes, now we are alive. And with your permission, I would like to just share my screen. Sorry. I hope and strongly believe that you see my screen, right?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. You should see my screen. Do you see my screen?
I see a black screen.
What about now?
I can see your screen.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining today's webinar. This is 6th webinar that organized by Powerbi, Excel, and Innovative Educators Meetup Group. Today, our guest speaker will talk about Powerbi integration with Power Platform product. I hope in next minutes, guest speaker will give the necessary information about the topic and also herself. But I would like to go on with agenda. So after greeting session, I will give a little bit information for Azerbaijan audience about the books that I have translated from English to Azerbaijani, and they're available in Azerbaijan. And then I hope our today's webinar will go on with introduction to Powerbi and Power Platform, and then demo. And at the end of this webinar, we'll have Q&A session. Regarding books, one of those books that I have translated into Azerbaijan language is called like Financial Modeling in Excel for Dummies. The author of these books is Daniel Stein-Verhulst from Australia. And this book is going to be distributed free of charge, and it will be available on my website, so-called excelworld.org. And just to to follow the updates regarding the availability of this book, please be so kind as to attend my next webinars. And I hope it will be available in next 1 or 2 weeks. Azerbaijan items. And the second book is called Master Your Data with Excel and Power BI. The author of this book is, authors of this book are Chemours and Miguel Escobar. And I'm at the point of translation of last chapter of this book in the Azerbaijan language. So it will be also will be available in the second half of July this year. Then regarding today's speaker, we have Nathalie Leenders from the Netherlands. As I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, she will be able to give the necessary information about the topic in next few minutes. And I would like also to introduce our next speaker, who is Soumya Ayazi, and who is coming from Australia. And she is going to deliver her speech in July. It will be on 28th July. And all our sessions are recorded. And if you are interested in previous sessions and previous webinars, all of them are available on my YouTube channel. And just type "You Guys I Believe" on YouTube channel. You will get my channel, and you will be able to watch all the recorded previous webinars. So I hope and strongly believe that I will see you on July 28th next time. So now I would like to end my presentation, and I would like to deliver a stage to Nathalie. So let me stop sharing. Now, stage is yours, Nathalie. You can share your screen and go on. Thank you.
All right. Let me know when you can see it.
Yes. Now I see all the Nathalie Leenders has started screen
Okay,
sharing.
good.
But
So,
nothing more.
good morning, afternoon, good evening, everybody. For me, it's evening, but I don't know in which part of the world you are. My name is Nathalie Leenders, and as Ilwar mentioned, I am from the Netherlands. and I am going to be speaking about the Power Platform integrating, or Power BI integrating with the Power Platform. So technically speaking, Power BI is part of the Power Platform, but there are many different ways to integrate. So I will be talking about setting up a scheduled refresh, real-life use cases, mixing Power Automate, Canvas apps, model-driven apps. I'm even adding in Power Pages, and how to do a Power App in Power BI. So don't just do Power BI in embedded in a Power App, but the other way around, which also enables CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. So that's a really interesting portion that I'm going to be talking about, or at least I think that's interesting. And Power BI integration object, what that is and how that works. And of course, do a recap because it is a lot of information. But let's go through this. And so yeah, so that's me. I'm a former hairdresser turned to IT.
Nat, sorry, it says you're sharing your screen, but it doesn't actually show anything. I don't know if anybody else sees it or not, but it's like a blank
don't see
screen.
it?
Yes.
It says Nat has started sharing your screen, but it doesn't show your screen.
Oh, let me try again.
Could you other guys see it, or?
I can't see it either.
Yeah, no, I had the same thing.
Okay, okay.
How many?
Maybe you have dual
screens do you
monitors.
have? Yes, monitors. Yeah. Sorry for interrupting you, Jacob. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I can. Let me try again. How about now?
No, it just says it's a black screen. It says that you're sharing.
Yeah, same here.
Like, do you have dual monitors, or maybe it's sharing the other monitor, maybe, or something?
No, all of them have something on it. Let me try again.
I mean, we see you on the video, of course, but not your screen.
How about now?
No.
That is really strange. And now?
No.
I've tried entire screen, I've tried window, and I've tried application.
Maybe you stop sharing and reshare and see if it kicks in.
Yeah, I've tried multiple times, but let's see now. It says that I'm screen sharing. You don't see it?
No. I saw a floof in the background earlier, but no. Not your screen.
Yeah, that's my cat.
Yeah.
I think. Sorry. I hope everything is okay. I hear some background noises. Yes.
Do you have to give her maybe a presenting rights or something as the host, maybe?
Okay, let me try to give you host, Nathalie, but she's co-host. No issue. Okay, no issue. So, but I will kindly ask you to give me also a co-host later. Okay, so now you are host.
Okay.
Try to share your screen now.
Okay, I just tried again.
Hello.
Are you guys still not seeing it?
No, it's just.
I got my.
And now?
No.
The good thing is that the number of attendance is increasing. I hope now you'll be able to.
What if I send you the slides, Ilgar, and you can share and you can go?
Okay. For this, please make me at least co-host or host. Okay, I will share and you will talk. No issue.
Okay. I just made you co-host.
Okay, yeah, you know, I'm co-host, so send me your presentation, please.
Yes.
If you don't mind, I will share.
Yeah, it's really strange that it's not working.
Are you going to send me here or just via email?
I think whichever you prefer.
Okay, send me here, please. No issue.
Okay. Let's see, how do I do that?
Come to just chat. There is chat, and there on bottom part there is file button. Just click on this, and you will be able to upload your file.
Okay, yes, got it. Okay, I just sent it to you.
Yes. I got it. Now let me download it. Just I kindly ask your patience for 1 minute, please.
Yeah, sorry about this, guys. This usually doesn't happen. That the screen sharing won't work, but.
No issue.
I
think there is a very dangerous voice. Let me find it. Who is 0442? Okay, I'm just going to remove that guy, and I'm just going to.
İlgar.
Yes, assist is.
I think that it's Zoom kullanıcı. The name of Zoom kullanıcı.
Okay, but okay, let me ban him. Okay, remove. Okay, I'm sorry, and I'm just going to disable.
There we go.
Okay, enable waiting room. Okay, good. Because yeah, okay, so yeah, that's good. Sorry for this. So now I'm just going to share my screen. I'm sorry. Okay.
This is what happens when you don't use Teams.
Okay. Do you see my screen now?
Yes.
I see a black screen.
Oh,
I can see your screen.
I see it.
Maybe Kevin, can you share on Teams with me? We are colleagues. Can you share so I can see Ilkar's screen through you?
Sure will. Hang on a second. Yeah, I mean, Natalie are coworkers, so
yeah,
we have Teams. I'll share my screen with her. Yeah. Okay, I would have to call you on Teams on that, right? So let me.
Yes, please.
Okay. Hang on 1 second here.
Okay. So Kevin, let me give. Will you make him co-host Nathalie, please? Kevin, just enable him to share his screen also. Because otherwise he will not be able to share his screen.
He is sharing to me so that I see your screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Almost. Okay, can you share again, Ilkar?
Yes, let me share my screen once again. And I hope. Yeah.
Okay, now I see it. I see it through Kevin. We're good.
That's great. Good. Okay, so just 1 minute, please. Okay. Okay, great. Yeah. Now you should see my screen, right?
Yes. Now I see it.
Okay, great. Okay.
All right. So again, I apologize for all of the technical difficulties here, but let's get started. So can you go to the next slide for me, please?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about scheduled refresh, real life use cases, Power Automate, Canvas app, model-driven app, Power Pages, adding a Power app into Power BI, which enables CRUD, and I will talk about that later, and what a Power BI integration object is and how that works, and do a recap since it's quite a lot of information. But yep, that's it. Can you go to the next slide?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so this is me. I'm a former hairdresser, turned to IT about 13 something years ago. I'm ITIL certified, and I started off with Power BI actually, and SharePoint Designer, and did InfoPath, and gradually grew onto the Power Platform. I have a personal assistant that you may have seen in the background, my cat, married with no kids, and I love to travel and share knowledge. And I'm a Microsoft MVP as of June 1st. So that's me. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Okay.
All right, let's talk about a scheduled refresh. So how does it work, and how can you set it up? And I will very briefly touch upon this because this is essential for the rest of what I'm going to be talking about. So go to the next one, please. All right, so having a scheduled refresh, what is it? So that you can set up a schedule so that your Power BI refreshes on 8 times a day, or if you have premium, up to 24 times a day. You can set up direct query, which means that it can be unlimited and almost real time. And the requirement of that, if you can go to the next slide, please, Ilgar.
Sure.
I have 37 slides, so this is going to be fun. For the requirements, so your data source needs to be added as a web source, either direct query or through an on-premise data gateway. I won't go deep into that because that's a whole session on itself. But those scheduled refresh requirements help in what I'm going to be showing you later on. So a web source can be that your file is hosted on SharePoint, it's on OneDrive, it's on the web somewhere, and through through Office, you can find the web link and you can then connect that into Power BI. So that's kind of how that works. If you can go to the next one, please.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, so just a few real life cases and scenarios, just a few examples, like how can I do this? How can I combine with the Power Platform? I mean, so for example, you only know Power BI. What can benefit with Power Apps and all other? Hold on, sorry, 1 second. With Power Apps, and how does that work throughout the Power Platform? So if you can go to the next one. So let's say for finance, you want to have a data-driven application. Let's say you want to monitor different KPIs or different finance, and you don't have Dynamics 365. You can do a model-driven app. You can have Teams adaptive cards, meaning you get a pop-up within Teams, and that pop-up will give you, for example, KPI if they've been exceeded, or if there's been a massive marketing opportunity or any type. I mean, I'm not a finance expert, but those are just a few of the things you can think about. And your Power BI, you can do a full-on CRUD, and that is what I'll be showing later on how that works. But that is leveraging Power BI, Power Automate, and a model-driven app. So Teams Adaptive Card is Power Automate, a model-driven apps, Power Apps, and Power BI. And then the same with sales. You can do target notifications, send every Friday. You can send an overview of the sales of that week. You can do an automated email if somebody closed off on a deal. Those are all sorts of things that you can do. Or for IT, you can do KPIs on different tickets in the queues, or you can do a Canvas app for custom work. So a Canvas app meaning a blank slate for all of the design things that you can do. So these are just a few examples, and then I have one bigger example. If you can go to the next slide, please. So, for example, this is a real-life business case that I have worked on in the past, and it's an alert system that displays open alerts. That's within a Canvas app, and you have full design freedom to design how your alerts are being displayed. And you can do a Power Automate Teams adaptive card or an email to notify the business when a new alert has been added. You can do an approval process with different steps. You can do that either through approvals in Teams, or you can do that with a Teams adaptive card. I mean, I am all for Teams adaptive cards, but that's just me. But those are just a few of the options. And then a Power BI, and you can embed a Power App in Power BI to display the statuses, historical information, and you can actually push the information back. So this is another business case scenario that I have encountered. So next slide, please. So Power Automate, what is it? How does it actually work? What are triggers? What are actions? What does it do for Power BI? So if you go to the next one. So a trigger is whatever triggers your flow. So in your flow or your Power Automate workflow, it can be on the press of a button, meaning that you manually press a button for it to trigger, or you have an Excel file that's been modified, SharePoint file modified, an item has been submitted, an email with a keyword has been submitted. Those are a few different types of triggers. So that's the very first step. And then an action is anything after that trigger. So I'm here showing an example of Power BI actions. So you can get scorecards, refresh a data set, run queries against your data set, do updates, all sorts of things based upon that trigger. So let's say somebody sends an email with a keyword and you want to refresh your data set, or somebody adds a file to your data set and it triggers that it gets refreshed. So those are some of the options that Power Automate can give you. So if you can go to the next one, please. Okay, so there's technically three types, but I'm noticing that a scheduled and automated is the most common that's used. There is an instant flow, but scheduled and automated are the most common ones. So a scheduled Power Automate flow is based on your schedule. So it can be from 9 a.m. to noon to midnight, or whichever you tell it to run, it will run. And then you can have the follow-up actions. You can set your own frequency of that schedule. And if you can go to the next slide, please. And then there's an automated flow. So you can specify your own trigger. So the scheduled one is based on your schedule. Automated is based on either a press of a button, an email, keyword, change item, anything that you specify as your trigger, and you have follow-up actions. And this is the one that also automatically gets selected if you go into Power BI and add a Power Automate flow. So that's what I'm going to be talking about now. If you can go to the next one, please. So within Power BI, under Insert, you have the option for Power Apps and Power Automate. So Power Automate is still in preview, but it does work. So that's why I am discussing it here. So once you click on that Power Automate button, it will open up that thing that I have on the right. Sorry. So add data, set up your flow, apply and share, and format your button. So how that works is you can select data from your data set. And once you have that selected, then you edit your flow and it automatically brings that data that you have selected from your data set into your flow. So let's say you want to have a sales quota per specific date hierarchy with a KPI measure that you have set up. All of those you can select and bring into your flow. So once you do that and you click on edit and you create that flow, you can actually go through that whole trigger and action portion, and you can create your whole follow-up scenario. So it can also be to refresh your data set. It can be, well, basically anything that you want. And just make sure to apply and to share that flow then with the user. So otherwise, if they click on the button and they're not added to that flow, it won't work. But that's not a thing. And once you close it, it will automatically create a button, and upon pressing it, it will run that flow. And you can also monitor the flow run, so you can see what did or didn't happen. So if you go to the next one, please. So how does it actually work in integrating within a Canvas app, or let's say a model-driven app? And as a bonus, I will be talking a little bit about Power Pages. So if you go to the next one, we will get started on. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so a model-driven app is a very data-driven app. So there's two ways you can add a dashboard or a report to a model-driven app. So either you can embed a report by going to New Dashboard and Power BI Embedded, and you can then afterwards select it to have it in your app, and it will be added also as a dashboard. Or you can add it to a report, or sorry, not a report, a main form. So meaning that in your model-driven app, you can have different forms, either based on your audience or based on whatever somebody selects. And in that form, you can also embed a Power BI file, but that's through XML coding, and all of these links in here I will be sharing, but because that really explains on how all of that works. But that is something that I cannot explain in 55 minutes. So that is that will be there. So next one, please. So the second method is going through the sitemap designer, which is basically a designer for your model-driven app, how you can add different menu elements and different dashboards and reports. And under type dashboard, you can actually add your Power BI dashboard there through the app. And if you go to the next slide, I will show you how that actually looks like. So in here, you have a model-driven app, and those that are familiar with Dynamics 365 may be also familiar with this layout. But this is a model-driven, so a data-driven app which has an embedded Power BI dashboard in it. So next slide, please. Then you have a Canvas app, and a Canvas app, meaning blank slate app, you have full design capabilities over the whole app. So you can add a Power BI tile, which allows you to add or embed your Power BI dashboard, and you can add it anywhere you want. So that's the beauty of a Canvas app. There's a lot more freedom, and you can actually add a Canvas app or a custom page in a model-driven app as well. But that's a whole other thing you can also do. So if you go to the next slide, please. So within a Canvas app, once you select inserting a Power BI tile, it will have the menu to choose your workspace, dashboard, and which tile. So once you have selected your workspace and you add your dashboard and tile there, if you go to the next slide, it will embed your Power BI dashboard basically. So that's how that works within a Canvas app. So it looks slightly different from a model-driven app, but that is because this Canvas app is a blank canvas and you can do whatever you want with it. Let me take a sip for a second. All right, next slide, please. So Power Pages. Power Pages is formerly known as portals. And a portal is an externally facing website. And in this, you can also add a Power Page. But this adds a little bit more difficulty because it's an external facing dashboard or website. And on that website, you need to enable that people can see the data that you usually have internally. So I will show you how that works. If you go to the next slide, please. So there are two ways. Method number one is using the Power BI embedded service. So the Power BI embedded service can be found in the admin portal. So I won't go through all of these steps, but it basically means that in the admin portal, you need to set up the permission that your workspace has access to your Power Page. And on Azure as well, you need to create a group, a security group, and add your application ID. So your Power Page has a specific application ID. You need to add that to the security group, and then it will work. So these are all of the steps, and of course I will share the link on how all of this works, but there are a few more admin settings that are required since it is sharing an internal dashboard out to an external source. So next one, please. And the easier one, that, or at least that I think is easier, is the Power BI visualization. That is in the Power BI admin portal under resources, you can choose a Power Page site, and you can select the site, select which environment, and a legacy application menu will open up, and you can enable Power BI visualization, excuse me, difficult word. And after that, it's been enabled, and you can use Power BI liquid tags, which are very small pieces of code that you can use to embed your Power BI report. So it's similar to embedding a dashboard or embedding even a YouTube video into something, but it's kind of the same with doing that with Power BI. I am out of breath, I'm sorry. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the one that I think is the most interesting, is how do you do a Power App in Power BI? So you don't do Power BI in a Power App, but the other way around. So if you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so how does it actually work? So I wasn't aware up until when I found this information that from Power BI, you're able to create, read, update, delete to your data source without having external pieces of software. So it is possible to actually have a Power App or a Canvas app into your Power BI, so that once somebody is in your report, they will be able to select their information, and it will also actively filter based on your slicers. And from there, you'll be able to change the data, save the data, and actually do a refresh as well. So I thought that was really interesting. So if you can go to the next one, please. So this is actually what it looks like. So this is just an example I got from the Microsoft Learn page. But this is a Power BI dashboard where on the top left, the top visuals and the lower left visuals are just Power BI visuals. But the one on the right-hand side, the one with a nice purple logo in it, that is actually a Canvas app. So that is an embedded Canvas app that actually allows you to modify your data. And based on what somebody selects in the slicers, it actually selects it or slices it through with you. So through there, you can actually delete items, you can submit new items. And I thought that was just the most interesting thing ever. So if you go to the next one, please. So how does that actually work? So there are a few prerequisites on the admin settings that you have to do. So you need to enable TDS endpoint, so tabular data stream protocol, and you need to make sure the Power BI visualization embedding is also enabled. When both those are enabled, you also need to make sure that your Power BI import mode is set on direct query. So the reason for that is there is a way to actually do a refresh from your Canvas app on your visuals, and if it's direct query, it will also refresh your entire data set. So if you go to the next slide, please. So how does this work? I mean, it sounds nice, but how does it actually work? So in Power BI, as I mentioned, you have the buttons Power Apps and Power Automate under Insert. And if you click on Power Apps, it gives you a menu where you can select. It's a very similar menu to the Power Automate one we saw earlier, where you can select your data points that you want to pass through to your Power App. So it won't send your whole data set through, but you need to select which ones you want to do. And then there's two options, either create a new app or use existing. And I will be talking about creating a new app. So it will launch a browser window, with a Power App Studio, in which you can finish the app. But by default, it will only give you, as it's mentioned on the right-hand side, it will only show you a gallery. And from that gallery, it won't really do anything. You can click on items, but that's it. It won't do anything because there's no secondary screen. behind it. So you do need to actually develop your Canvas app after you selected that and you're in the Power App Studio. And just make sure that you also do an edit form and a submit button, or if you have it on a single screen, that's fine, but make sure that you can pass through all of your data and that it's responsive so that it fits nicely into your report the way that you want it. And of course, most importantly, save and publish before you close. But as you can see on the top of this visual or of this screenshot, you will see under items, Power BI integration data. So what is that? So if you go to the next screen, please. Okay, so how does it actually work? So I mentioned that there's a filter that it works with your slicers. So, sorry. So if you do direct query as your data set and Power BI integration, you can do a refresh option. So that's a Power FX command that's only available if you go through your Power BI, select a Power App, and then from there you can do Power BI integration.refresh. So I will show you how that works, of course. And if you have already selected it and saved everything and you want to change your data points, that's perfectly fine. You just go back to the step, you select your app in Power BI, you go to edit, select more data points, or sorry, first select more data points, then click on edit, and then your Power App will have the new data and you can modify it. So next slide, please. Okay, so how does this work? So as I mentioned, you need to make sure to include an edit form, but on the items property of that edit form, gallery.selected, as we are used to using for items, it won't work. So this Power BI integration.data, it grabs the data from your Power BI data set into Power Apps. So it doesn't actually do its own data source or data connection. It actually connects through your report to your data set. So that's why gallery.selected won't work. And you have to do a lookup. For example, lookup finance data, the name is equal to the gallery selected item name. So that kind of sounds difficult, but you have to match your data or your collection or your data source or whichever you're wanting to have with your gallery item. So once those two are connected, all of your other data points that you want to have, for example, you passed through a specific date hierarchy, you pushed through sales measurements, all of those data points will work in the rest of your gallery. So you can then do this item dot data hierarchy, this item dot sales measure, all of those different things. And after that, if you add on your submit button, Power BI integration dot refresh, it automatically refreshes your visuals. So I do emphasize on visuals because it doesn't do a refresh of the data set, but being direct query, it already automatically or very, very fast, almost real time already does that. But if you don't have direct query, take note that it only refreshes your visuals. And then you can use, for example, a Power Automate flow that whenever your data source gets modified, start that Power Automate flow to refresh your data set. So those are just some things to take into account that's also needed. But still, I mean, it is a Canvas app in Power BI that allows you to modify your data. So, I mean, I think it is worth the effort. So next slide, please. Yeah, so as I mentioned, how does it actually work? So it connects your Power App to your report. And from this connection, it uses those data points that you pass through, and it only uses that. So it doesn't use the whole data source, and there's no direct link to your data from there. So it only uses the data points you have selected. So as I mentioned on the gallery, this item property will only work on the items you have selected in your Power BI. And then from there, you can do that. So let's say in your Power BI, you have a finance measure, and that finance measure you haven't selected when you created your Power App, it won't show that piece of data. So you have to go back to edit, add that data point, and then it will have it. So and these things are only available if you choose to create a new app and not leverage an existing app from the Power Apps menu. So there are ways to do that, but I won't be going into that right now. So next slide, please. There are some limitations. So you have to use direct query, as I mentioned, for the refresh option, because it only does your visuals. You need to fully refresh your data set if you don't use direct query. And changing the data fields can only be done by editing through the three dots through the ellipses. And there is a limit of 1,000 items that can be passed. So if you have a larger data set over 1,000 items, it won't work. And embedding for external customers is not supported. And you need to share the app alongside the report. It doesn't automatically share. And it's not supported if your customer uses Mozilla Firefox or Safari. It's very limited, so only Edge and Chrome are supported. So next slide, please. Yeah, as I said, so this is what it does. So there is a Power BI report that has an app in it, and through that app, you can actually modify your data set or your data. And you can, of course, add Power Automate flows to it, or you could even do, if you want to, a virtual agent or any other thing. But I'm just focusing now on the app integration with Power Automate. So next slide, please. Yeah. So a recap, because I think I went through it quite fast. I'm sorry about that, but a recap. What did we actually talk about? So next slide, please. So there are a few ways to integrate using either a scheduled refresh, web or direct query, or on-premise gateway. I've mentioned some real-life scenarios, how to do a Power Automate flow with triggers and actions, adding a Power BI dashboard in model-driven app, Canvas app, and Power Pages, adding a Power App into Power BI, and what a Power BI integration object is and its functionality and its limits. So next slide, please. That was it. So as I mentioned, I went through it quite fast. Thank you guys so much for your time and for your attention. And if there's any questions, don't hesitate to ask them.
Thank you very much, Nathalie. Yes, actually, before the presentation, I have received some questions, and I got answers to these questions. But once again, I would like to ask one of them. Just let me open my Word file and let me read my questions. It was about the limitations of integration and Power BI integration with Power Platform products. I hope you have talked about it. If you don't mind, we can, once again, explain this moment. And the next, one more question was related to it was saying that how does the integration of Power BI and Power Platform enable automation and workflow automation for data-driven processes? It was the second question. Mm-hmm. And can I go on with my question, or just you?
No, I can. I can answer that one. So
okay.
So there's many different ways of automating your process. So let's say you have a model-driven app that somebody submits their information in, and somebody gets an email and gets notified that something has been submitted. But then after that, excuse me, sorry, can you guys still hear me? Okay.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So after once that email gets submitted, you can then use a Power Automate flow. And from that flow, for example, you can trigger your Power BI to refresh. So that's one of the automation steps that is added here. So as I mentioned, technically speaking, Power BI already is a part of the Power Platform, and that makes it a whole lot easier to integrate all of these things. But yeah, I mean, there's many different scenarios and many different ways of doing this. I mean, the Power Platform is so unlimited. I mean, I only know of these few because of my work experience with it, but the sky is the limit with different types of triggers, different types of automation, virtual agents, different triggers in a Teams channel. I don't know, whichever you can think of that matches your business scenario, you can actually build. That's the power of the Power Platform. So there isn't like a one set answer on how this can improve. It's really based upon your type of business and type of client question.
Thank you very much. This question that I'm just going to ask you must be interesting. It says that in what ways does the integration of Power BI with Power Platform impact data governance, security, and compliance institutions? So this is the question that I asked.
Right. Yeah, of course. So, of course, within Power BI, you have a specific data governance, specific actions, workspace level, admin permissions, whichever. But within the Power Platform, you also have, for example, you have your DLP policies, your data leakage prevention policy, I think it's called, and you can actually make sure that within the Power Platform, very specific people get access to the data. So let's say your data is hosted on Dataverse and you have a Power BI connected to that. You can use security groups, you can use Microsoft My Access groups, Azure AD groups on all these different types of levels. You can actually make sure that nobody that isn't intended for your data can access it. So there's a lot of different ways on how to do that.
But not least question, it says that how does the integration handle large-scale data volumes and complex data transformations, ensuring optimal performance and scalability?
I think I missed half of that. Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, okay, sure. How does integration handle large-scale data volumes and complex data transformations, ensuring optimal performance and scalability?
Yeah, so I personally don't really have experience with really, really large data sets, but I guess it depends on how you have your Power BI dashboard set up. So if you have a direct query mode or import mode, or how you're handling the data on that, and then how it's transferred onto Power Apps or in your Power Page or anything. So there's many different layers, but I would advise, if you have a larger data set, put it up on Dataverse, because Dataverse is on the same layer as a model-driven app is or a Canvas app is, and that enables the fastest connection. So if you have it, for example, on a SQL server, you need to go through a gateway, or you're using a virtual table, that adds different layers to it, and that can add slowness to loading your data set. So it kind of depends. And if your data set is larger than 1,000 items, you won't be able to use that embedded Power BI integration object method. So you won't be able to do a Power Apps in your Power BI dashboard. So it really depends on how big of a data set we're talking about. So if it's 1 million items or 10 million items, it really, really depends on how you handle, on how you have that.
Thank you very much. Those were the questions that I got from attendees. So you may go.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you for your time. And I'm sorry that I raced through it. I wasn't planning on speeding through it, but so this was the first time that I've done this particular session. It is brand new. So if there's any feedback, anything somebody wants to see in the future on this one, feel free to contact me. I'm always open to suggestions.
Great job.
Okay, thank you for your time. Thank you for your contribution. I really appreciate it. And of course, I will share you the results, feedbacks with you in next week. So once again, thank you, and I'm very obliged to you. So
yeah, Sounds good. Thank you guys so much.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.